The North American Free Trade Agreement is a complex deal between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Now, I can't explain it all in 2 minutes, but what I can tell you is the renegotiation of that deal could have massive impacts on Ohio and its workers. This is a map of how people voted in the 12th Congressional District from 2012 to 2016. It's an example of what experts call a safe Republican district. The event this morning was called Eggs and Issues. Now, the media was not allowed to record the actual debate, but we did talk to the candidates and the people who came to see them afterward. When you get right down to it, it's the future of certain issues that's at stake here. And both campaigns and some voters agree on what those issues are. 1 month after 17 people were killed at a Florida high school, hundreds of Ohio high schoolers rolled up to the State House on a mission to lobby for gun legislation. There are a lot of things that farmers cannot directly control that affect their bottom line. The weather here and in other parts of the world, for instance. Another are policies put in place in Washington, D.C. The administration says these new rules will not take anyone's pain medicine away, but some professionals say unintended consequences may do just that. Life Care Alliance relied on dozens of volunteers to get Meals on Wheels to hundreds of people all over Columbus in the bitter cold. Whether or not Medicaid costs for 3 million Ohioans would be paid next year hinged on a decision by a board of lawmakers, some of which do not like the idea of expanding Medicaid. When you get right down to it, it's the future of certain issues that's at stake here. And both campaigns and some voters agree on what those issues are. We've heard it before, but it's worth mentioning again.
You don't have a right to complain if you don't vote. So voting, yes, voting is something that we should all take very seriously.
One mother in the 12th Congressional District has a reason to take it seriously. Crystal Lett's son requires each of these medications daily, and without adequate health care, the medicine alone would cost nearly $2,000 a month.
For us as a family, health care is the primary issue that we're concerned about.
According to both campaigns, what happens with health care at the federal level is something the outcome of this election will play a role in, even though it represents one vote in hundreds. Both campaigns say the future of the economy and jobs are also at stake, and that may be the second most important thing for Crystal and her family.
I think the economy is a massive driver for most voters, both Democrat and Republicans. I think about that a lot. When I'm going to the voting booth about what are things going to look like 10 years from now? What are they going to look like 20 years from now? And who do I want to put in office to go towards the direction that I think we should be going?
Other issues at stake are taxes and the opioid crisis. Now, the winner of the special election on Tuesday will only serve until the end of the year. They will have to win again in November if they want to serve for the next 2 years. Local for you in the 12th Congressional District, Jason Aubry, NBC4. 1 month after 17 people were killed at a Florida high school, hundreds of Ohio high schoolers rolled up to the State House on a mission to lobby for gun legislation. Some of these students came from Cincinnati, others from Dayton and Cleveland, and all of them with one thing to accomplish when it comes to gun laws.
We want our legislators to know that we as teenagers care about these issues. We are passionate enough to show up here at the State House today and make our point.
Helping make that point was Matthew Euclid from Cincinnati. He's the first cousin of one of the victims at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School last month.
We want to stand up and make this an issue so that this doesn't happen to another family or another individual again.
The students met with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle and from both chambers with the expectation of starting a conversation.
The state of Florida just passed legislation that is not perfect by any means, but is a great move in the right direction. I don't see why Ohio can't follow suit in a way that is a preemptive strike against potential gun violence in our state.
The students planned to attend Wednesday's Senate session, but it was canceled yesterday. According to his office, the Senate president has been ill since the weekend and plans to be back next week to hold session. Not aware of this, the students took the move a different way. In the end, every action taken or not shapes their opinions for better or worse.
As teenagers, maybe people don't take us as seriously, but we are future voters in Ohio. All of these people are going to be 18 very, very soon.
Many of these students set up meetings with lawmakers from their areas. Local for you at the State House, Jason Aubry, NBC4. In some ways, today was just like any other day at Life Care Alliance. Meals were packed, routes were organized, and volunteers showed up to service them.
But today was not just any other day. It was the MLK Day of Service, and for the second year in a row, Jack and Jill of America's Columbus chapter took the lead, making up the bulk of 150 volunteers.
It's very special, especially to our children, because they get an opportunity to, if you will, be boots on the ground, right, and be actively participating in service.
Jack and Jill of America teaches young people leadership and philanthropy. Shari Hicks Graham participated as a kid, and now her children are involved.
It means a lot to me to be able to give back to the community that's given our family so much.
Shari and Jamie's families teamed up to deliver meals to several families on the Near East Side of Columbus.
Oh, it's great. They're wonderful people. They really help out.
With the streets still slightly treacherous and temperatures so cold, the adults had one goal today: putting into practice what their faith teaches.
Being able to show the importance of service.
Turn right onto South Central Avenue.
To people who are young and who are just trying to figure out the way that the world works.
Those here at Life Care Alliance say that organizations like Jack and Jill are great because they make that commitment on a specific day and show up no matter what the temperature is like. And they say it gives their normal volunteers a slight break, but it also can impact the people who were here today and convince them to come back throughout the year. Local for you in Columbus, Jason Aubry, NBC4. Two of those people were Jessica Von Zastro and Olivia Irion, friends with different political opinions that didn't know the other would be there.
That was cool.
It was nice
funny seeing your friendly face.
Yeah, for sure.
Jessica was there to hear more from Democrat Danny O'Connor. Olivia didn't know much about either candidate and is a Republican.
I've never been to a congressional debate like this, so it was really interesting being here.
And I'm a poli-sci major, so obviously I want to know as much as I can about actual real-world politics.
O'Connor and Balderson debated for nearly an hour, agreeing and disagreeing on various issues. Here's what they had to say about what gives them an advantage in the race.
Having the record of being in positions, of having to make decisions, of balancing budgets, is the biggest thing I have over Danny.
I have the experience of running an executive office where if we don't get the job done, real estate lags in our community, and a member of the legislature, they could not show up, and I don't know if anyone would notice a difference.
In the end, the young ladies were happy with what they heard.
Being able to hear both sides was definitely educational, and it was kind of eye-opening in a way.
As they both were emphasizing, bipartisanship is super important to actually getting things done for everyone.
The special election for the 12th Congressional District seat will be held on August 7th, and both candidates will be back on the ballot for the November 6th general election. Local for you at the State House, Jason Aubry, NBC4. 3 months ago, the Parkland shooter killed 17 people at a Florida high school. One of those victims was Jamie Guttenberg. Her family was here today to urge lawmakers to pass common-sense gun legislation. Speaking in front of both House and Senate committees was Fred Guttenberg, father of Jamie Guttenberg, one of the Parkland, Florida shooting victims.
For me, this is purely about loss. This is life or death.
While he was testifying inside, a rally was being held outside.
There wasn't an outcry in Florida until we had this mass casualty. It means Parkland didn't happen here. Be thankful and don't wait. That's my message. Don't wait.
Ohio has had school shootings in recent years. In 2012, a deadly shooting at Chardon High School. And in 2016, several were wounded at Madison Junior-Senior High School. Cameron Smith is one of the survivors.
You see somebody walking towards you with a gun, you realize you've been shot once you see the blood. Once you go into the helicopter and into the ambulance, you're starting to realize it's a pretty scary thing.
Feelings he hopes no other kid has to experience.
I want to have the bill passed to prevent other kids from having to go through what I had to go through.
That bill could be a red flag bill going through the Senate, or either of the bills in the Senate or House based on Kasich's 6 proposed gun measures.
There's nothing in what we call for that is looking to punish anybody or remove a right.
All of this legislation still has a long way to go before it can become a law here in Ohio. Local for you at the State House, Jason Aubry, NBC4. The president focused heavily on military spending, what it is going toward, and playing to the crowd, reminding them that they have their jobs thanks to him. President Trump took the stage at the Joint Systems Manufacturing Center and was greeted with cheers from employees.
Well, you better love me. I kept this place open. That I can tell you.
During the Obama administration, this plant repeatedly received no funding in the executive's budget, but lawmakers on the Hill were able to keep it open and operating. Now, under President Trump, the military is building up. The lines in this plant are humming, and the people are working.
Production is ramping up in the biggest way, and the awesome M1 Abrams tank is once again thundering down the assembly line.
Trump also touted his administration's request of $750 billion in military spending.
These historic investments are making America safer and our workforce stronger.
Meanwhile, in Lordstown, a plant very much like the one he was in sits idle, the workers off the job. The president had this to say.
What's going on with General Motors? Get that plant open or sell it to somebody and they'll open it. Everybody wants it. Sell it to somebody or open it yourselves. Get it going now, and the UAW will help you.
The president is now headed to Canton for a private fundraising event at a country club roughly 50 miles from Lordstown. Local for you in Lima, Jason Aubry, NBC4. The North American Free Trade Agreement is a complex deal between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Now, I can't explain it all in 2 minutes, but what I can tell you is the renegotiation of that deal could have massive impacts on Ohio and its workers. Companies outsourcing to Mexico cost hundreds of thousands of people their jobs. Many have blamed NAFTA for this.
Nobody's opposed NAFTA more than I have in the Senate. But I also know that you can't just tear up the agreement and walk away.
He says today's Ohio agriculture business would be decimated in the process.
The best thing for all three countries is to lower barriers to trade so that we can create more jobs in Ohio that are related to exports.
Despite an enthusiastic response from President Trump, only a few of the issues Senator Brown wanted to see focused on made it into the negotiation plan, and the senator has concerns.
One of the reasons I voted against NAFTA in one of my first votes in Congress was it was too much of a shift of power to corporations, and I know who the president surrounds himself in the White House, and it looks a bit like a Goldman Sachs executive retreat in the president's cabinet room.
However, both senators agree because Ohio and Robert Lighthizer is leading the negotiation, that should put people's minds at ease.
He's making progress from what I hear.
Still, the senators say Trump's reputation and social media usage precedes him.
He's got to do real negotiations here, not tweeting every morning and making statements and blaming others. It's got to be a serious negotiation.
I'm hopeful that they can come to a good conclusion because we need those markets.
For an in-depth look at what the Trump administration wants to accomplish in these negotiations and for a deeper understanding of the agreement in general, take a look at the links I posted on the Ohio State House Newsroom Facebook page and Twitter account. At the State House, Jason Aubry, NBC4.